ice cream. So this past weekend I attended the end of Brazilian Day Festival, which is just a celebration of Brazilian culture here in Atlanta. Ended up having dinner with my family at Houston every single time. It was delicious every single time. When I left there, when we all parted ways, and I decided I was going to go meet some friends over at Brazilian Day. But by the time I got into the neighborhood where it was, Mableton, west of Atlanta, they were all leaving and gone. I had to pay to get into this festival. It was free last year. It was interesting. It's kind of a celebration of Atlanta's Brazilian culture, which means it's not like your traditional Brazilian Day festival. So there's not a lot of samba. They don't like funk. A style of Brazilian hip hop that sounds a lot like Miami-based. They do have really good food though, so it's all about Brazilians in Atlanta. So it's really sweet. In New York, they bring in a lot of celebrities. They had this year, huge superstar, like huge superstar in Brazil. I think I want to go to the New York one because I think I'll see a wider variety of acts there. But yeah, so I got a dish there, acaraje, which is a African dish that is very popular in Bahia, which is a state in Brazil which has the largest black population. It's a black-eyed pea patty, mashed black-eyed peas without the skin, that is actually fried, and they slice it open and put like a shrimp paste and a pepper sauce, and a little bit of tomatoes and stuff like that, and a big hunk of shrimp, like a handful of them, and you kind of eat it like a sandwich. It is like the best food. There's a guy who's from Bahia here in Atlanta who every year has an acaraje stand. So the first time I had it, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And they kept telling me while I was there, the women that I was there with were like, oh no, this is nothing. You gotta actually have it in Brazil. This is nothing. Ugh, you don't know what you're missing. And I was like, oh, whatever. It's probably really. On my recent trip to Brazil, I kept saying I really, really want to try acaraje. And I guess I just put that in the universe because literally right outside the apartment that we were staying in, a guy set up a stand where he made it. And he was dressed like a baiana, you know, with his hair tied up and a white outfit with the beads and everything. And he set up the stand, and I think the acaraje was like 7 reais, maybe 5 reais, which is nothing. Like the cost of a hot dog, I want to say, you know, it was really cheap. And this was probably one of the greatest things I've ever tasted. It was amazing, and I got it. I told him just a little bit of spice for me, and even just that little bit of spice was like punching me in the back of my throat. Like it was like strong, like the spice was real in this dish, and it was so freaking good. At this little stand, like he literally set up like a tent and had like a little thing where you can fry the patties, and he was making everything while he was there. It was amazing to watch, and the line was really long, so I knew it had to be something good. And I asked him how often he was there, and he was like, every Thursday through Saturday, you know, I'm here set up and you can come by after 5 p.m. I wish I had gone back every day after 5 p.m. because it was so good. Crazy thing is that at the acaraje stand, I ran into a guy from Atlanta who was actually in Brazil on business, and he had never had acaraje, had never even heard of it, but he saw the long line. But I took it upstairs and I told my fiance, like, hey, you've got to try this. I found acaraje. Finally, you get to taste it. And he fell in love. Like, he was like, oh my God, I want more. Can we get this in America? And I was like, probably in America somewhere, but not necessarily where we live. I actually knew that Brazilian Day Festival was coming up here in Atlanta, and I was looking forward to going to the acaraje stand. It was 5 or 7 tickets, whatever the case may be, which would have been like $5 or $7, I can't remember. And when I got it, I realized they were like putting it together in front of me. You know, she sliced open the patty and and she swiped in the shrimp paste, and then she asked me, his wife asked me if I wanted spicy, and I told her just a little bit, and she put just a little bit on there. And then I noticed that what was supposed to be the big handful of shrimp was a big handful of tomatoes with like those little ramen noodle shrimp, you know, the little baby shrimp. And I was like, what am I paying for right now? And I was really looking forward to the acaraje, and I realize now how much of a ripoff it is to get the acaraje there, because not only is it not good, but it's just not even acaraje. It's basically a black-eyed pea patty with a bunch of tomatoes in between. It was just wrong. And you're charging people for like a tomato sandwich. What? It was just wrong. So now I have to learn how to make acaraje, because you can't get it here. And my friend tells me, he's Baiano, he's a person from Bahia, that it's not really hard to make as much as it's extremely time consuming. The black-eyed peas have to be peeled. Cards trying to kill it. You have to have palm oil, which I have now. I got some at the DeKalb Farmers Market, and I cook with it from time to time. So my body is slowly getting used to it. It's not gonna make me poop like everyone said, because I used it to make moqueca, which is like a shrimp stew from that same state. I really like the food. Like, the idea of the food is amazing. I've never been to Bahia, so I cannot wait until the day that I can actually go and try all of these things myself. I attended the Afro Bahia Festival in DC a while ago, and that was absolutely amazing. It was very moving, very educational, and I loved it. The food, when I tried, I got an idea of what it should be. In Rio, I really couldn't get much Baiano food, but I had black beans almost every day, feijoada, Brazilian style rotisserie chicken is everywhere, and I had pound de queijo and espresso every morning, like clockwork. Like, that was the first thing. Got up in the morning, got to going out the door and just seeing what coffee shop I hadn't visited. Ultimately ended up the last few days going to the same place, because it was right across the street from where we were staying, and they were really nice. They weren't, but the thing about when I say really nice, it doesn't mean like they were like very friendly. They didn't speak English or anything like that. They just they weren't nasty. They were attentive. If I did like this, they knew if I needed to come over. They helped me along with my Portuguese if I didn't know how to ask what I was asking for. They kind of just filled in the gaps. It wasn't necessary. They didn't really look at me like, girl, what? You know, that face that people make at you when you're like screwing up your language. But they also didn't make me feel like an asshole, you know. So that was why I ended up going there a lot in the last few days, and their coffee was really good too. So I've learned since that the salgados, which are like the little savory pastry dessert thing, well, not desserts, they're like snack foods, because they're not sweet, they're savory, are generally frozen, which is why everybody has the same things on their salgados menu, which sucks. But when I went to Buzios, which was amazing and beautiful, oh my god, I cannot wait to go back to Buzios when it's actually the high season. If I can afford it, I would totally go. But they actually make the pastries in-house. So they have this, like, these things that are basically what we as Americans would know as an empanada. You know, stuffed with meat, ground beef and cheese and spices and stuff. And there you could tell that they handmade the pastries. They were delicious. I like fresh stuff. Like, I don't eat at, if I can help it, chain restaurants where I know food comes frozen and they basically just heat it up. I try not to eat at those restaurants. I've worked at those restaurants before, so I know what goes on in the kitchen. Because now I know what good feijoada tastes like, what good acaraje tastes like, and I know now not to get ripped off when I go places. That's my little rant on Brazilian food. I think at Brazilian Day Festival here in Atlanta, I'm in New York happened, so I really didn't have the funds to go traveling from Atlanta to New York, having just gotten off a plane from Brazil to Atlanta. So no, you got. So anyway, that's my little rant, and I guess I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. Uh-oh, this woman is like making her kids stop, and I'm telling her her kids can go. You guys go. Yeah. She basically just yoked her little girl. It's hilarious, actually. You rarely see kids get that type of treatment these days.